Hey guys, it's Super Retrocade here. I'm back with another video. So, something that I did that I think is pretty interesting is there's this guy. Let's see, John Gee, who he posted this this web GUI for for an Extron Crosspoint in the Shmups forums, and he was doing it with an older Extron Crosspoint that was a BNC version, and I'm at the point where um, NES through Dreamcast, so as are they're all HDMI modded. So I have a retro USB AVS for NES games. That's that's an HDMI FPGA console. I've got a Super NT, which is HDMI. I've got a Ultra HDMI N64. I've got a Wii Dual GameCube with a plug-and-play HDMI, Dreamcast with DC HDMI, a Nintendo Switch, and let's see, have I missed any? I labeled them all in here. Yeah, so 7 of them. So this guy did it with BNC stuff so that he could do RGB through an Extron Crosspoint matrix switch. What I did was I bought a newer Crosspoint matrix switch. This is a Extron Crosspoint DXP 8x4 HDMI switch. So this will take 8 inputs and do 4 outputs, so you can switch audio and video separately from 8 inputs out to 4 different displays, which is pretty awesome. So what I did was, when I first got this, I of course read through his thread, and from what I could tell from the manuals and stuff, it looked like the interfaces and stuff were similar enough to where I can maybe do the same thing. Like, it looked like the web interface for the device was the same sort of way. So when I first got this, there was a couple things that I noticed right away. The first thing that I noticed was when I took it out of the box, there was something loose inside of it. So it turned out that there was like a sticky piece in here for cable management that had like lost its stickiness. So when I opened it up, I took that out easily. And one of the things that's cool about this is it's real simple to disassemble, and it's very like plug and play, like computer type connections inside of it. So then the next thing I did was, the fan on the side was super loud. So what I actually ended up doing was, the fan was inside of here was a 60 millimeter by 60 millimeter by 25 millimeter. I actually have it right here, and it has a standard PC connector. So this is the fan that was originally inside of it, that was super loud. So what I did was I bought a Noctua fan off of Amazon, that was also a 12-volt fan. And I actually it came with different pieces, and one of them actually sets it for a lower output. Now, for my use case, I'm not going to have this in a rack-mounted server situation where it's going to be hooked up with a bunch of other hot stuff. So it didn't get mad. It didn't seem to detect whether it had a fan at all or not. So I really don't think it's a big deal. So I just put the quiet Noctua fan kind of gauged down a little bit in there, so it'll keep it cool, but it's not loud to where you can hear it. So if you had this in like a home entertainment center, the sound wouldn't be a big deal. So then the next thing that I ran into, so I had it with the new fan powered on, everything's great. The next issue I ran into was, how do I get the web interface working? Because on the back here, underneath the reset LED, there's a reset button where you can like put a pin in. And I got myself, I was able to get a login to Extron's website so that I could get the firmware and the manuals and all the documentation, which is actually pretty hard to do. Fortunately for my career, I support conference rooms and stuff, so they gave me a login. So in the manuals and documentation and stuff, there's like 4 different reset combinations that you can do here. And I tried doing all those, but the problem is, when you do like a factory reset, it doesn't turn on DHCP by default. And what DHCP does is it allows your router to assign it an IP address. So for whatever reason, by default on these, the DHCP isn't turned on. Instead, it's trying to go to 192.168.254.254. And like my home network is on a 192.168.1 whatever network. So the way that the guy got past that in the original article was he bought this USB to serial cable, and so I got one of these today, and I gave that a try because there's this Extron Crosspoint software which I can bring up here. Let's see here. Oh, actually I'm already in it. Yeah, this Extron Crosspoint software. Inside of here, when you first bring it up, it asks you how you want to connect to it. And one of the options is USB, but for whatever reason, the USB was always grayed out for me. And this software is one of the things you can only get if you have a login to the website. So what I ended up doing was I ended up going into the Ethernet adapter settings on my computer, and I went into the IPv4 section of my network card, and I changed it from automatically obtain IP address to setting it to 192.168.254.5. And then it automatically filled in the subnet mask, and then I didn't have any internet connectivity or any sort of network connectivity, but I was able to go in my browser to 192.168.254.254, which is the default IP address of this device. And I was able to get into the web interface, which by default doesn't have a password. And I was then able to go in here and let's see, I went to configuration, and I was able to turn on DHCP here. So then once I turned on DHCP, I went back into my network adapter settings, and I put it back on auto obtain, and then I rebooted my computer and I rebooted the switcher. So now they're both on the 192.168.1.1 or 1.star VLAN. So then what I did was I went into my router by going to 192.168.1.1, and I viewed all the devices connected to it. So then I was able to see what IP address this device was pulling. I then went into the router and assigned it a static IP address. So now this device on my home network, as long as it's connected to my router, will always be 192.168.1.21, as you can see here. So then what I did was, at that point I could get into the web interface. So then I went in here, and the first thing I did was I just did the firmware upgrade. And this I downloaded the newest 1.2 version from Extron's website. I'm not sure what all exactly it does for you, but I figured it's smart to apply it. So then I went in and kind of looked around in here. Wasn't really sure what all this stuff does, but here's the presets page. And what I actually found was this kind of differs in the way that the other guy had done it. And I did some digging around the source code, and I found that the page, let's see, I think it might have been in IE. Yeah, this is what you care about right here. This page, the IP address /nortex underscore global underscore bottom.html, that is the actual page that contains your buttons. And that's where I right clicked and viewed the source and stole the source, or copied the source code into my Coffee Cup HTML editor here. But what I ultimately figured out was you don't even need to do that. So what happens is every time you click a button on here, it sends you to a different, it puts a different URL up top. This is 1, 2, 3. So each one of these, 1 through 32, these are all corresponding presets. So all you have to do is create a blank HTML page, and then I inserted a table, and I just tell it, right now I have it all pointed to a bunch of the same image, but all I did here was in each cell I sent it to 1, 2, 3, 4, and these are all links on this retro HTML page. So right now I just have it with eight images. I just use the same image right now. I haven't really perfected this yet. But I've got this nest.png file, which I took from the original guy's thing. Even though now looking at it, depending on how many presets I do, I may or may not want to, make them wider or change the layout. Because right now this is just input 1 going to output 1, input 2 going to output 1, input 3 going into output 1. But all I did here was I took this HTML, and so this is just a page with a 2-column by 4-row table, and then I've got the link, the URL, which is just IP address /retro.html, CMD 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then they're all displaying, each cell contains nest.png as a hyperlinked button. As a hyperlinked image. So then what I did was I went over here to the matrix switcher, and I went to the file management tab. And this is the exact same as what he had in his tutorial, where what I did was I uploaded my retro.html, and I'm not sure, okay, it looks like, I think he said on his switcher it only had like 1.3 megabytes of storage. This looks like, I'm not sure about the bits to bytes, 8:1 conversion, but it looks like it probably has about 5 megabytes of storage on here. So what I did was I created so I uploaded my retro.html file, and then I also created a directory called retro, and then I put my nest.png file in there. So now what you do is, let's see here, I'll bring it up on my tablet here, because this is kind of what's really cool. So you can bring this up on a tablet, a phone, anything that's on the same network. So right here I just have a bunch of clickable buttons, and you can't even really tell when I'm clicking them. And I don't have the switcher hooked up to like multiple TVs or anything right now. But what I can show you is if I have the Extron Crosspoint software in the background, you can see these lines will change. So when I hit NES, it's 1:1. When I hit this is the SNES position. It's 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 5-to-1, 6-to-1, 7-to-1, 8-to-1. Or no, I haven't programmed the 8th preset. But what's also cool about this is these are presets. These aren't actual. And I should explain how this works. This is video and audio. So you could have a preset button that is sending to multiple TVs from multiple sources with audio on one, or with audio only on one. I mean, you could have 32 different presets on this page. So it's super powerful. And another thing that's cool about this switcher is when you go in here to configuration, or not configuration, it's under control, you can assign, these are what the different TVs can handle. So you can tell it, like, this device is outputting this and this TV can handle this, to just make everything smoother. And I don't know if that's necessary or not, but this is a pretty cool thing that you can do with, these switchers are currently going on eBay for about $200, and they were, they were for commercial applications. So this is like a really cool thing for using with your retro consoles, because this is only $200, but it only goes up to 1080p. Well, all your retro consoles aren't going above 1080p, and 4K TVs and the like are going to be really good at scaling 4K or 1080 or 720 or 480 to 4K. Like, they're going to do it pretty easily, and this isn't introducing any lag or anything. So, and another cool thing about this is, when you have this web interface going, you could, at that point, you could rack mount this thing. You could put it anywhere. So I definitely think that these are a pretty cool, this is a pretty cool switcher. And the guy who originally came up with this, it's awesome that you did this, and I'm glad that it still works on newer ones. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and thank you.